Hello, everybody. Welcome to the What the Candidate Says podcast. Today I have Virginia Perdomo Cordero with me. Hi, Virginia.
Hi, how are you, Ellie?
Thank you. Did I pronounce your name like in a nice sound?
Yes, yes, you did.
I want to be proud.
When I came to Germany, it was like the first time in my life when my name was not easily pronounced, but you did well, yeah.
Thank you. I have the same experience. Like people ask me how to pronounce my name. I'm like, isn't that obvious? Right. I'm really curious about your journey. I was witness of only a very small part of it. So tell us about your journey, please.
All right. So I am a data analyst, but I have a marketing and corporate communications background, which means that I have a completely different background to the field. I pivoted into data after I completed a 6-month bootcamp. And prior to this, I wore several hats in my own field. Like I moved around within the different positions that I could assume. And then I also did a small stint into diplomacy, which some people get surprised about, but it was very much aligned because I was like a communications officer, so it was still communications. Yes, and I don't know, during my journey, I've always like looked to move according, was more about the question, I was answering two questions all the time, like what else can I do? Like within what I know, like how can I apply what I've learned? And also it was a little bit the fact that whenever I was working on something, I would say like, and for example, I started as a creative copywriter at an ad agency. And then, I always had communication with the client side. And then at some moment I was like, oh, I can do that too. And then that is how I ended up being the client. And with data, it was also the same. I was an internal client for the BI team, for example. And I was like, oh, how does that work? I'd like to try my hand at that too. And then it took me longer, but like this is why I pivoted into data.
Wow. That's very inspiring. Like this question you ask yourself, can I do that too? Like, let me see. Very daring.
Yeah, yeah. Not always comfortable, like it does come with a lot of challenges. You have to be willing to restart sometimes, and you have to be willing to admit how much you do not know. But at the same time, I think it's very enriching because you get to meet a lot of people and to ask for a lot of help. Therefore, you just expand a lot of your knowledge and you push yourself a lot. So I think that the pros are more than the cons. But I'm not gonna say it's always like a walk in the park. Like it's got its, yeah.
That's nice to mention. It's also one of the reasons why we do this podcast, sharing our challenges.
Yeah.
So, can you recall an interesting interview? Like, I guess you have had several interviews for different roles, the hats you wore. Can you recall something good or bad?
Well, I've had my share experience of both. I would say. I guess that the ones that I've got fresh in my mind, of course, are when I pivoted into data. So I had a bad experience that I don't think it's representative of field, but it was really I don't know, it really upset me. I'm still mad about it. Like I had applied for a company because and somebody that was working inside had recommended me for the position. And I had my first HR screening, but it was like Christmas. It was like the 15th of December, something like that. So they said like, oh, let's pick up the process after the holidays. And I waited and I wrote to them. And then I noticed that the person that that which with which I had interviewed with had moved on to another company. And then I checked and saw that which was the person that was replacing them. I wrote to them an email, no answer. All right. So I found out who was the person that would be above them. I wrote them an email. I saw that they were checking my LinkedIn because I have like the paid version, so you can see who's entering. But then they never answered. And this ghosting experience was kind of weird because, you know, but also then, and this is what made me very mad at this particular company, was that the person that worked inside the company told me that they were actually sort of making fun of the whole situation. I was like, dudes, like, just like, we can get along, we're all adults, just say that the role is no longer available, or that the person that was before decided that I was not a match, whatever. But you know, but I don't think that's representative, except for the ghosting part.
Yeah, ghosting is annoying. But with referrals, the companies are actually more careful with the candidates because they know that there is someone in the company who's going to hear about your experiences, and it's like double-sided knife. And yeah,
Yes.
this is really bad experience, what you explained.
Yeah, but again, except for the ghosting part, which I also had to start getting used to here in Germany. I had never like been ghosted before during my career. I would always get an answer. Yeah, it was just a very particular bad experience, as I would say.
Yeah. And
But
how did the friend or the colleague reacted, like who referred you?
they were completely mad at it. They even thought of quitting their jobs, and I was like, no, it's not worth it. Like, at the end of the day, like, you know, it's okay. I was upset. Obviously, I still am, and that was like over a year ago. But I don't know.
Yeah, the candidate experiences are highly connected, like closely connected to employer branding. It's not for external people, the candidates you are looking for, but also your existing employees, right? And
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
like, it's really important to provide you good experiences, especially when you are referred by someone in the company for these reasons.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's happened, learning process. Like, then I started having like this, because I had this list of companies I would never apply to again. First company.
Like listed, yeah.
Something good came out of it, at least.
Yeah, and you talk to other people. If someone is about to apply to that company, you tell them about your experience, and that might also prevent them to apply.
Yeah, for sure.
And your perspective is so nice, like staying positive, seeing it as a learning opportunity, and it gets easier. I mean, even though it keeps annoying us, once we get ghosted over and over, we just say, okay, this is how it is.
Yeah, but definitely this is also like hindsight, because at the moment I was just very frustrated and could not understand that I had a lot of negative feelings towards the whole thing. I'm okay with it. You know.
That's, yeah, another good point. Now it's easy for us to say when we have the distance to this memory. Now it's just in the past. But when we are searching for a job, we are already so vulnerable. And this kind of experiences make us to ask ourselves, is it me? Like, what's wrong? Like,
Absolutely. I think vulnerable is the right term for it. I think that being a candidate looking for a job, especially now, like I was looking for a job for many, many months, is difficult. It is very difficult. And to this, I would add my experience as an immigrant, coming to a new country. And something that is very important, I did not have neither a professional nor a personal network, you know, and it was a very difficult experience in general. Like, some days or some moments, actually even weeks, like I had to stop for my own mental well-being, because the constant rejections and like either automatic rejections or just getting a negative feedback when after running the process with the company, it is not easy. It is definitely not easy, and you are very vulnerable.
Yeah,
in
it
this
gets
time.
accumulated. Like one small rejection is fine, like you understand, but another one. Sometimes it happens you get 3 rejections in a day and you're like, oh my God, what's happening today?
Yes, that happened to me, and it was like, well, what's wrong? Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it depends on our mood as well. Some days you're like, ah, all right, I got another rejection. You can make fun of it, but it's also like showing like ups and downs with our moods. It's not easy.
Absolutely.
Another question about your interview experiences. If you think about like any phases of the process, like how can they make you comfortable?
First of all, I think a open and constant communication. I read on LinkedIn a recruiter saying that for them it's also not easy, and then you start thinking like about the other side of the other perspective, which sometimes you just don't take into account. But for them it's also not easy because sometimes they have quotas to fill, like they need, like by the end of the month they need to fulfill this particular or 3 positions, they say 3 roles they need to hire people for, and then they have hundreds and hundreds of candidates, and sometimes they themselves do not have enough time to do the process as they would like to. But as a candidate, I must say that just constant communication is important. Like ghosting is very uncomfortable because at the end of the day, like I prefer getting this automatic rejections, like, oh, those emails templates we've all received. I much rather prefer that than just not having any feedback at all, like at any stage of the process. And for the hiring managers, I would say to do show some interest in the candidate, because and then you start thinking like, okay, so maybe they've also been very tired during the process. Who knows how many candidates they've been speaking to, and everybody's got their good days and the bad days. But my best interviews have been with hiring managers that are really willing to learn, for example, about my career, or that are interested in my answers and ask me questions about my answers. So that would be it. I think at the end of the day, in both cases, communication.
I see. And you've shown so much empathy for the other side. That's also so nice from you.
I try. It's not easy. Some days I'm just mad at everybody, but yeah, like I remember that post made me reflect on my own experience, like made me think like, like there's a point there that I hadn't thought about. Of course I didn't, because I wasn't the other side of the coin. And there's a point, but at the same time, then I don't make the fault is not with the individual, with the recruiter, but then the system is not working. There's something that needs to be fixed, like
Yes.
to make all people involved more comfortable too.
I mean, it goes both sides. We expect also lots of empathy from the other side when as candidates.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Can you recall the best interview question you got so far?
Oh, wow. Most of my interviews have been very much aligned with I don't know, like either a technical challenge or a business case. I can't recall. Oh, well, yes. I would say that, so I have a lot of experience working. Like I pivoted into data, and I am comfortable with the fact that I'm restarting, to a certain extent, that I'm restarting my career. I could see that a lot of people in my situation wouldn't be as comfortable with the fact, like after you've been working for 15 years, I personally won't pretend to become a manager immediately. Like I need time to build up on my knowledge and my skills. But I think the best interview questions I've had was a company that, since the screening, went head on to the fact that they told me, like, this is not for a manager position. Are you comfortable with that? And the reason, while it may not be like this great question, it solved so many things for me, because I was struggling with how to present myself, in the sense that, yes, I do have a lot of years of experience in my in my field, right? And sometimes I just didn't know how to present myself or how to address this particular thing, because some companies or some hiring managers were willing to have to give me a chance in that sense, and with others it was more comfortable. So for example, I completed a whole process. I went to the last step with one particular company, and since the beginning, at that moment, and this is when I started like doubting myself, like I was telling them, like, yes, since the beginning, I have a lot of experience. Yes, I know, but I want this particular position because this and this and this. And I understand that the position is not, like, I'm not going to have a team under me, whatever. Like, I understand this. And then my last feedback was like, that they could understand that I was willing to do that, but that they preferred somebody with less experience. So at that moment, then I didn't know how to address it. And then I started having two different CVs, like CV with the whole experience, and like a very short CV, and with a disclaimer saying, if you need more information about my experience, just let me know and I'll be willing to give you all the information that you want. So when this from the HR screening, and then with the hiring manager as well, when they asked me that, like, directly, I felt like so at ease, because I was like, okay, I finally found a company that is willing to really talk about this and like have in a very sincere way.
Not waiting until the last step and like, oh, right, we are not at the same level, right? I see.
Yeah, that was very disappointing. But and as I said, like at that moment, I was like, I started like, also maybe I shouldn't tell people. Maybe I shouldn't just. I started deleting, for example, the years that like when I studied, the years when like where I was working, like just for them not to see to make, like, to start counting, like how many years has she been working for, So it was a very simple question, but for me it was like a game changer. So I was like, okay, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, clarifying the fundamentals.
Yeah.
Very important to do in the beginning. I mean, you could ask a relevant question maybe, but I saw like you felt, oh, we are in the same communication channel. They asked me this question, they care about this. So this was a good sign for you, big sign.
It was a good sign, and it was the first time that I felt that, I mean, we talked about it, like in both instances with both people. I talked about it, like, yes, but I am looking for this particular reason, that not that be my years of experience be the reason why you won't choose me. Like, if you don't choose me, that's fine, but for any other reason, like, I'm not a fit, you need somebody with technical experience, whatever, but not because of that. Just
Yeah, that's cool.
um,
Before we wrap up with your advices, I want to ask you about your feelings, because you're going to start a new job, as I am also. How do you feel?
well, today is Friday, so today I'm starting to get a little bit more nervous. like like the last few days I was like very chilled about it, very happy, very content, very excited, which I still am, but now it's like so real. Like in 2 days I'm at a new office and the whole process starts again. But I guess at the end of the day, I still have like a very positive outlook to the whole situation. I'm very excited. I met the team. I've been to the office, and I really felt comfortable, and I liked it. To me, challenges are exciting, and I know that that's coming up, of course. And yeah, let's see. On Sunday, I might be. Oh my God, what am I? I barely remember my dreams, but like 2 days ago, I dreamt that for some reason I went to the wrong address. I've been to the office like 3 times already, but I went to the wrong place, and then I was late on my first day, and I was just thinking in my dream, like, oh my God, this person's impression is gonna be terrible. What are they gonna think of me first day? And I'm not there on time. But today I'm starting to get nervous about it. Yeah.
I wanted to use the opportunity because we were talking about this. The job search process is difficult for the reasons we just like mentioned, no question about it. But the onboarding, starting a new job, is not so much less challenging for different reasons. We are excited. We are like, oh yeah, another opportunity, sense of belonging to a company, lots of learning opportunities. But on the other hand, how your brain reflected so plainly in your dream, like we are afraid of making mistakes. We are like, okay, am I gonna remember the names? I have difficulties. Or like, am I going to understand the infrastructure or whatever important to them? These are also big challenges.
Absolutely. And then, as you mentioned before, like then the imposter syndrome kicks in. And then, yes, there's, I try not to think about that too much because then it can get overwhelming. There's just going to be so much learning for the next few months on every level. And of course, you're just wishing, like, please let me be like as good as I can be, just to make sure that I go through the probation period, but actually also to make sure that in my particular case, I want to stay there for some time,
Yeah.
that I can be valuable to the company, that it's so exciting for me, that I learned that everything is covered on that sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. If we think too much about it, it can be just like a vicious cycle, losing energy unnecessarily. But as the first step, like awareness, it can happen. I mean, there's high chance that we are going to feel that way, and we accept it. And if it happens, it happens. It happens to many people. Being aware of this is going to help even more, I think.
Yes.
And we stay motivated and powerful, high energy. That's going to be also a nice addition to the team. So we have advantages as well.
Yeah.
Now we can have a wrap up with your suggestions to candidates and the companies for their hiring processes. What do you say?
Sure. So with the companies, as I mentioned before, both for the recruiters and the hiring managers, I think communication is essential. Not only what you're telling the candidate, but also how you tell it to the candidate. To have empathy, for example, when you're doing technical interviews or business cases, like it's also important to try to make us feel as comfortable as we can be, because sometimes we get so nervous that we just answer things, and then you have what is called the spirit of the staircases, that after you finish your the phone call or the interview, you think like, oh my God, I should have said this, I should have said that, but like you're just so nervous at the moment. So that would be really important and valuable for the candidate. And for candidates, it's very tough, and the market right now is really, really not easy. I think that you need to try to find a community, and there are just so many groups out there, and people that are really willing to help. I had a very particular experience with a chief product officer whom I met in an event that I went to, and the way she helped me without even knowing me was a game changer for me. Like really, because I was feeling very down when I met her, and then like just because she was willing to talk to me, to introduce me to people, and like to send emails around, that completely changed my how I was feeling at the moment. But there's other people out there that are really willing to help, and being able to go to a group of people and say how you feel, talk about your experience at the moment. I think it's very valuable. So networking, but also giving as much as you can back.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes what you receive is not going to be maybe a job offer, but you do receive support, and I think it's very important to do.
These are beautiful suggestions. Thanks a lot for your contributions to this community, Virginia. And stay tuned for next episodes. Bye.
All right. Ciao.